just me riffing on kimchi and soju.
Okay, so everyone is going to start recording, so we have the video recording for a minute or two before we start.
Cool. Hi, everybody. Do we have lots of people yet?
14.
Oh, 14 people. Get it. Also, if you are just now joining us, feel free to write stuff in the chat, comments or questions, or let me know if you're following along with me, or if you're just watching, whatever. You can always watch the recording and then. Oh, what are we cooking? Okay, so we're going to do kimchi fritters or pancakes, which is actually a pretty traditional thing to do with your leftover kimchi, and then also beef bulgogi, which is every Korean household has their own recipe for beef bulgogi. It's pretty standard fare, and it's really easy to make.
Yeah. Cool. We'll get started in a minute, everybody.
Yeah. She's my handler.
She's over here.
She's over there telling me what to do and what to say.
Okay. Meredith, go ahead and give us in the chat a thumbs up or.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, or whatever time it is at your location. We can go on and get started. I'm excited. This looks yummy.
It's one of my favorite things. Also, beef bulgogi is like when we go, there's a restaurant in my hometown called Soul Garden, shout out. And beef bulgogi is what my dad gets every single time. Anyways, okay, so hi, my name is Megan. I am the owner and executive chef of the Root Cellar Catering Co. in San Marcos. Love to cook. This is a fun little experiment with us getting to do these fun virtual cooking along things. Hope you got to see our last one. We're gonna do Korean food this time. Yeah, let's start. Hope you're ready. Also, use the chat. Ask me questions, comments, whatever you wanna do. I'm open. Plus it'll keep my mind off of, having to say things off the top of my head.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the marinade. If you got the instructions, you need to marinate the beef about 2 hours before you cook it. I've already done some of that, but I'm gonna show you how to make the marinade, and then we're gonna do mushrooms. So vegetarians, you have, a nice solid option. Okay, so in your mixing bowl, brown sugar, 2 tablespoons. The recipes are posted too, and I think Vanessa might do it in the chat as well. 1/4 cup of soy sauce. If you're gluten-free, you can use something called tamari. It is a gluten-free soy sauce, so you have that option as well.
This is for the beef.
This is for the beef. This is your marinade for your beef. I'm also going to show you how to cook. Sesame oil, boom, and then minced garlic and minced ginger. Koreans are very into garlic. Don't be shy. Get in there.
If you're just not joining us, please be sure to mute your.
Sorry, I'm gonna keep saying that. Mute yourself if you're just not joining us. Please and thank you. Okay, so that's it. That's the marinade. You're gonna add about a tablespoon of, I never say it right, it's a Korean chili sauce. I'm not gonna try to say it. I don't wanna embarrass myself. If you don't like things really spicy, you can take it down. If you like things spicier, kick it up, totally up to you.
Here, I'll try to show them it.
This is also gluten-free too. Yeah. We tried this at my house because we're really into hot ones. If any of y'all watch Hot Ones with the chicken wings. And we got this to try as like one of the hot sauces. It's not great by itself. Just a warning. I was like, but in marinades and sauces, it's amazing. It's like fish sauce. Like you would never eat fish sauce by itself. But in things, it's incredible. Okay, so that's it. Marinade, done. I'm gonna show you, we're gonna cut up some mushrooms. So I'm gonna use portobello because I can get them. And button mushrooms for that marinade. You can use shiitake mushrooms if you have them. You can use dried and reconstituted. I just like these. So I'm gonna cut these. I'm gonna stem them, take the stem out. You can take the gills out if you want to, but I don't think it's worth the trouble of it. So you just wanna slice it. This is for the vegetarians, or if you're really into mushrooms. I mean, I do like strips, like you will with the beef, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. They're right in there.
In the marinade?
In the marinade. And then your mushrooms. I cut the tips, if you have like really long stems, like this, just cut them in half. Cut them in half. The one other thing to talk about with this, for this marinade, is pears. So I'm using a red pear. If you have a Bartlett pear, which is the green ones, or Boston pear, you can do that too. Traditionally in Korean cooking, they use the Asian pear. I love an Asian pear. This is what I have. They're like 87 cents a pound right now. Also, this works just fine. Asian pears have an enzyme in them that allows the meat to break down faster, which is the whole point of having a marinade. Soy sauce does that as well. And plus you're using ribeye, which is already pretty tender meat, and you're cutting it really thin, so you don't need the enzyme. It's great, it's traditional. If you have an Asian pear, go for it. You don't super need it. Instead, I'm gonna use this pear, and I'm gonna use, it says use half of a small pear. This is a large pear, so I'm just gonna use one side. Peel it, so I'm just gonna peel the skin off. You don't have to do it the weird way that I'm
use a
doing
peeler?
it. You can use a peeler, like normal people at home would do. I'm a monster, and this is how I do things. Yeah, just peel it, and then you're gonna grate it into that marinade. And the reason I'm using a little bit less as well is, quote, Western pears, what they're kind of called, are a little sweeter than an Asian pear. An Asian pear is like round, and it's a cross between a pear and an apple, kind of. I really like them for when I'm doing cheese boards at home. That's like my favorite way to eat things, is when there's a lot of them. So I'm just taking this, and I'm taking a microplane. You can use a big box grater if you have it. You can also throw your marinade without the beef or mushrooms into a blender or a food processor. So you just grate it. But what's good about this is it's going to add some sweetness too, but not too much. You don't need it. If you have an Asian pear, perfect. If you don't, not going to be a problem. So once that's in there, I'm going to use a glove so I don't have to keep washing my hands over and over again.
So if you're vegetarian, you would just marinate this.
Like
You just wouldn't add the beef, and you could.
Exactly. And you don't have to marinate as long, because it's not meat. You're not breaking anything down. A lot of, you can use brisket, you can use other cuts of meat that maybe aren't as tender, and you're just gonna have to marinate it longer. But we're using ribeye. Ribeye is pretty tender anyways. Like if you were gonna use a tenderloin, you wouldn't need to marinate. You marinate it for like 30 minutes, you know? Okay. So the easiest way to sort of get your meat sliced really thin is to freeze it. You're gonna freeze it for about 30 minutes. And it's not gonna be like super rock hard frozen, but it is gonna be chilled enough to where it kind of holds. It doesn't do that meat thing where it kind of like slides around and gets all squishy. You know what I'm talking about? So I've already cut up a bunch of steak. So imagine that the steak is like this. I'm cutting it right, like I'm cutting it down the line. If that makes sense. So they say on there, it's like cut against the grain. That's not the right knife. I use a serrated knife when I'm cutting the beef or meat, just because it cuts cleaner, in my opinion. But you're getting like long, see how it pulls apart really easily? You kind of see that?
Yes.
That's what you want.
And it's so thin.
And it's so thin.
You want it serrated because it's so
Yeah.
thin.
And it's gonna cook really fast. So that's the whole point too, is that this is just like really quick. Generally, like when you go to a restaurant, it's done in a saute pan, but in Korea, it's also done like on a barbecue. So it would get kind of charred. But what I like about doing it in a pan is that you keep all those delicious marinade sauces to go perfectly with rice. Cool. So I'm gonna throw these in with my already marinated. See, I figured out the time thing so that the end isn't you guys going, what is she doing? So mix it all in there, get some saran wrap. I like to get the saran wrap to kind of touch the meat so it doesn't dry out. Boom. Stick that in your fridge for about 2 hours. Yeah, she's gonna do my holding to the, yay, beefy. Okay.
You said 2
I'm
hours?
gonna set that to the side, yeah, for 2 hours. This is my mushroom. I'm gonna set her to the side too. I'm gonna cut up while I have my cutting board. I like to do all of my cutting at the same time. Put it to the side so that when I'm doing the cooking, I just can add and do garnishes. So green onion, you're gonna do some green onion for the beef for garnish and for your fritters. So I cut off the tops, and then like when I'm at home, I just stick them in water, and I have green onions forever. They'll keep growing.
That's so smart.
Yeah. And I'm also just cheap, and I don't want to keep buying it, and I don't want to run out. So just stick this in water, and they'll just start growing. Nice, right? I slice on the diagonal, and that means 45 degrees, and it just looks nicer when you're garnishing with it. So give a slice. Any questions so far?
Someone asked if the recipe in the video would be reposted, and it will be later.
It will be reposted later. Okay, remove you to the side. So if you missed our intro, kimchi is basically it's fermented Napa cabbage. Pretty much everyone does it. In Korea, they have summer kimchi, they have winter kimchi. It's different based on the weather. Traditionally, it was buried for 6 months in a pot, and then they would bring it up and have kimchi. I have this regular one, and I also found this spicy kimchi. I don't know if you can see that. You can use spicy if you want. You can use regular if you want. I'm gonna choose to use this like as a side. Another fun thing before we get into the fritters is my favorite thing about cooking or about eating at Korean restaurants is that a really important part of it is the little side dishes that come with the meal. So like when you go out to like a Mexican restaurant or Tex-Mex, you get like chips and salsa. With Korean food, it's these little bowls of like daikon radish or marinated cucumbers or kimchi or potatoes or fish cake. It's like there's like 6 different sides, and you get to have all of them. And that's the dream. I can try all of these things. Like, it's amazing. It's my favorite thing. It's called banchan is what it is. And it's actually got like, there's a whole, food history is very interesting, but it has Buddhist roots, and I love it. Anyways, so yeah, it's my favorite.
If you're just joining us, too, make sure to mute your camera.
She's still on top of it. Sorry, look at you. You're doing it. Okay, so we're gonna get into the fritters / pancakes. It's either or. You can call them whatever you want. Flour, you're gonna do 3/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon, or a heaping 3/4 cup.
I'm gonna add this to the chat too.
Yes. I'm gonna do 1 egg.
I'm so glad I didn't get pancakes this morning. I really wanted to, and now I get to have kimchi pancakes.
Yeah. So there's, those scallion pancakes. It's not quite the same, but it's also, if you're gluten-free, you can use cup for cup. And use that,
what is that?
Cup for cup is a gluten-free flour, basically, that they've engineered so that it's literally, like, instead of, like, way back in the day, before gluten-free was marketed and companies didn't really know what it was, you'd have to get, like, rice flour and tapioca flour and xanthan gum and all these things to make your own flour. Now you can just buy a bag of it and just scoop it out like normal flour. Okay, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce and 1/4 cup of water, right? Yes. I like to add the liquids together first. So you're gonna add also careful when you open these because they are chock full and it will smell very fermented.
At least they don't,
Sorry,
they give you a full helping.
They really do. Also, I opened this earlier, so now it's expanded.
Oh.
Yeah. Careful with anything fermented. It always makes me nervous. So you do about 1 tablespoon of the brine.
So you just
in
poured
there.
a little tablespoon.
Just poured a little tablespoon in there. I know that looked weird because it was just dripping off of the. Okay, mix that in. So you're just gonna make a smooth batter. Just getting stuff everywhere.
That's why I need to get an apron for the house.
I don't wear aprons at home, and I don't know why. Just don't do it. Okay, so I'm gonna put a glove on for the kimchi too, and because here's the deal, I know we're not supposed to be touching our faces. I'm gonna touch my face. I know I'm gonna do it.
Is that spicy? Is
It
that why?
is. Well, even though this isn't technically like spicy, like labeled spicy kimchi, there is just chili peppers all over this because that's part of the flavor. My mouth is watering. My mouth is watering. This is like weirdly comfort food for me. So you want to take about 1.5 cups of kimchi, and this is a 16 ounce, so that's almost the whole jar. So yeah, you can see like it's just Napa cabbage, just fermented.
So good.
It really is. And it's good for you. It has a lot of vitamins and a lot of minerals that you don't normally get. Vitamin A, vitamin K, iron, phosphorus. I sound like an ad for
Kimchi ads.
It's good. And it's low calorie, low fat.
So we're just cutting it up into small.
Yeah, you're just gonna chop it up. Like 1.5 cups. And don't worry about like, you don't need to rinse it. You don't need to get this extra liquid off. It's fine. It'll be fine. Stick it in there. Whew.
Smells good.
It really, it smells good. I usually hate when cooking shows are like, it smells so amazing. And you're like, cool, I can't smell that. But when you do cook this, you're gonna know. Batter off, okay. Round, get her out of here. Okay, so we're gonna use this same pan I'm gonna use this for the pancakes, and I'm gonna use it for the beef.
So we're done. We're ready to cook now.
We're almost ready to cook, yeah.
Okay, that was so fast.
I'm telling you, simple. It's so easy. Also, one pan, genius. We're doing it. So yeah, you're mixing your fritters up into that batter. It'll loosen up with the kimchi. I say fritters, yeah. Mixing the kimchi into that batter. Ooh. Cool. All right, so we're gonna turn this on. So on medium, you're gonna get this pretty hot. Any questions so far from you guys while I'm letting this heat up?
No questions. Everyone's very quiet today.
Is anybody following along? Am I moving too fast? It's
Oh,
okay.
you mean cooking along?
Yeah,
I
like
don't
cooking
think anyone's cooking along. That's okay. They can go back and do it tonight.
Yeah, it's so simple. Okay, cool. So I have a nonstick because I love nonstick.
Which is crazy.
You don't like nonstick?
I just think chefs, when I think of chefs, I think of using stainless steel.
No. I didn't realize I didn't hit the steps for chefs.
No, I mean, it's just interesting, right? I think everyone just has their preference.
I don't use these for like, when I'm making sauces, I use, or meats. This is different though. This is like, I don't want it to stick. I don't need, like when you use regular pans, I don't know what you call non-stick, stainless steel. They're great for whenever you start doing meat and then you want to build a sauce with that because you get all those flavors caramelized in the place and it's like flavor building. But with this, I just don't want to have to like scrape. Yeah. So medium high heat. Let me double check my notes.
Oh, Trey says he plans on cooking this at some point.
Good. That's so easy. Good. So I'm just doing little drops. You can make them as big or as little as you want, it's up to you. Into our little pan. And it's all stuff that like you kind of have on hand, like, brown sugar and soy sauce and
Except for the kimchi.
Like unless you.
But that is like most recipes calls for one thing that you don't have in your cabinet.
Yeah, it's nothing too. You don't have to like go out and get all the things. Like I did. I wanted to make pad thai during this whole lockdown, and you have to buy a lot of things for that. You buy it once and you can keep doing it. But I was like, so many ingredients. Yeah, worth it though. Worth it. Non-stick on your non-stick. This is
So
Brian's.
how long? This is what? Brian's what?
This is Brian's pan. And he would. Brian never mind. He's like one of our chefs, and this is his fancy nonstick. And if he catches me not
Using
the right thing, he will murder me. So everything happens. You know who did it.
So how long are we letting the fritters cook?
About 2 minutes, and then we're gonna flip them. I know this is gonna be very interesting for 2 minutes.
Oh, we have questions coming in.
Ooh, lay it on me.
Did you add scallions to the batter?
No, we're gonna garnish with that.
And then Trey said, yeah, he's gonna plans on cooking it tonight or another night.
Wait, who is?
Trey, someone named Trey.
Wait, is he going to cook or he?
Yeah, he wants to cook it sometime.
You should do it. I mean, yeah. Let me double check. You're supposed to add half to the batter. Good catch. Why does this look so not green?
That was Steven. Good job, Steven.
I'm just gonna sprinkle some on top. Nobody has to know.
And it'll look pretty too once you fry that.
I'm gonna put it in there. It's totally fine. Oh, this is the hard part because I don't have like a non-stick spatula. Ooh, golden brown. And just like with like breakfast pancakes, once you see those little dots poking up, it's ready to be flipped. They look real good, right?
Yes.
I don't know about y'all, but I have not eaten lunch yet, and I am ready. I'm ready.
Weird. It looks just like a pancake.
It does. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Who knew? Who knew?
Love.
Yeah. This is.
So you lived in Korea.
Yeah, but I mean,
I tell
I
everyone
was a
that.
child. I mean, yeah, I was like a kid, like a little. So in the Army, everybody does a tour in Korea. There's a base there, like you train with South Koreans and et cetera. It's like a thing, right? And it's usually for singles. So like young men go, you go, like you're in the Army, you go, and then your, wife or husband and kids stay in the States. But since both of my parents were in the Army, they both went. And then I was a little kid, I was a little baby. And so I just got to hang out. I had a nanny. She would just like hang out, like do nanny things with me strapped to her back.
That's
just
awesome.
like did work. Yeah, it was awesome. I have pictures. My hands are shaking. I have pictures of like, my parents living there. Like we just got rid of all the furniture we had from back then. I know that sounds really weird, but like we just kind of held on to it.
Oh, just recently.
Yeah,
Wow.
like we had they're called yos. They're like thick, padding.
Like you sit on the ground.
Well, it's your bed. Yeah.
You got eight, and so we're almost to the 30-minute mark.
Okay.
So you still have
I'm
time.
flying through.
You're
this.
flying. Look
Yeah.
at this, guys.
Maybe more.
Looks so good.
Some more. I'm gonna do the rest of these.
And so total time on cooking means each side.
It's
would you
like
say?
each side is about 2 to 3 minutes, depending on how high you do it.
That long.
Not even that long. Yeah. And this makes about 10 of these. The recipe you have. So
I cannot wait.
yeah, that's gonna be good.
Is there a dipping sauce you recommend?
There is a dipping sauce, and I have it over here. I made it ahead of time. So I wasn't sure if I was gonna have enough time to show you guys all the things, which I think I am. So this is a more traditional dipping sauce, and it's in like the most giantest bowl ever. It is half rice wine vinegar and half soy sauce with toasted sesame in there. You could also do like, if you're into creamy sauces like this girl, I would do like, maybe take your red chili paste and do a mayo, mix it up, a little soy sauce.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I'd be into that. But I'm interested to see the rice wine vinegar. And I have seasoned rice vinegar. It says use unseasoned or distilled. Just use whatever one you want. Seasoned versus unseasoned, or sometimes like if you have sushi vinegar, it just has a little more sugar in it. So you can kind of adjust accordingly. That's really the only difference. I don't know why I have a bottle of literally It's called sushi vinegar. I think from like a
Yeah, I've never even heard of that.
yeah. It's the same thing as the seasoned. Because it's literally vinegar for rice. Like you in sushi, when you're making sushi, you throw the vinegar in your cooked rice.
I just remembered. So everyone needs to watch Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix.
Somebody feed Bill.
He goes to South Korea, and they eat something called tteokbokki or tteokbokki.
What's that?
It is like this ramen dish that they cook, like how you're cooking right now
Like at your
at your table. So I can't say it. If someone can pronounce it correctly, do it. But
I mean,
tteokbokki or
I'm
something.
into any
So
ramen
good.
dish. Yes. Anything, any sort of cuisine where I can put an egg in or on it.
I'm guessing you always add the dollar egg to your burger then.
And it's messy. And it's not cute to watch me eat it. But it's good.
Yeah.
Actually, my favorite thing to get when I go eat Korean food is the bibimbap bowl, and that's like rice bowl with, it has all the toppings, so like the mung beans and marinated cucumbers, little fish cake. It has mushrooms and what else is in it? Oh yeah, rice, obviously, seaweed. There's actually kind of like it better, so let me show you the difference.
Oh, yeah, with what you did. It's cuter.
Kind of a happy accident, so thank you, Stephen, for noticing it, but like the difference between, oh, this is gonna be really hot, like this versus, you can kind of see the green more on this one.
Yeah, it's cute.
I like to call those happy accidents. We didn't mean for it to happen, but how cute. Okay, so
Kimchi fritters.
yeah, done, you did it. And then we just garnish with a little.
Is this an appetizer or a side?
It can be whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
I would probably make it an app, honestly. And then I'm gonna garnish with some toasted sesame seed, and she done. Wow. Right?
Delicious.
All right, let's get into the same pan. I'm gonna wipe it out. We're gonna go ahead and assume that we have our already marinated beef.
Oh, someone's curious as which one tastes better.
Do I need to try and see?
I don't know.
I mean, try this. I'm gonna try this one. I at least wanna.
I'll try it too.
Yeah.
Hopefully I like it.
Ooh, it's real hot. I'm gonna use that dipping sauce. I usually hate when cooking demos, like people when they eat it on camera. I'm like,
Oh
I'm
man,
gonna eat. Is it good? You like
it's
it?
very good.
What I like about this is if you're new to kimchi, it kind of like mellows it out. Do you know what I mean?
Makes it more approachable.
And more approachable, exactly. Yeah.
Because who doesn't want to eat a pancake, you know?
That dipping sauce is incredible. Like,
Oh, that is good.
yeah.
Okay. They're both good.
Okay. So we're gonna do the beef. You're gonna do some batches. The most important thing about this is do not overcrowd this pan. Just, you're gonna have to be patient. Also, it is gonna be fully cooked. So let it go. Let it go. I'm not gonna do it. So just, your mouth is watering, isn't it? Yeah. Like I look over, but I'm just like staring. I love watching. As you can see, not overcrowding it, spreading it out. Can you hear me over the sound of this beef?
Yeah. Put it in the chat if you can hear us.
Yeah, give me a thumbs up or something. Settle down. Another important thing is just like when you're cooking steak, don't mess with it. Let it cook and then flip it over and let it cook. If you want to get a little, okay, good. I'm just like yelling at you. So just leave it alone, let it cook on the side, and then we're going to flip it and let it finish. Y'all got any other questions for me?
We're at 30 minutes.
30 minutes, girl.
You are fun. You might be able to talk about your mom beans a little bit.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Maybe after the.
Maybe I'll throw an extra cut of the time. After this, I was gonna do, and I brought these just in case. I was like, I might run through this really fast, and I want to show you one of those dishes. Probably after, I'll send a recipe if you want. But when I'm doing Thai food, look how big this is. And I use like a handful in pad Thai, and then I'm stuck with an entire bag of mung beans that they don't last. You open them and 2 days later, you're like, cool, I'm gonna throw away all these mung beans. I don't like to be wasteful with stuff like that. So I found a recipe, and it's one of the recipes that they use in the little dishes, the banchan dishes. And it's sesame oil, vinegar, soy sauce, and then mung beans. And mung beans. It's incredible.
And you eat it like a soup?
I literally just eat it. I will eat that for dinner. That will be what I eat.
Someone is asking what's the best to flip with the beef?
Tongs. Yeah, and you're not gonna when I say flip it, you're not gonna perfectly flip each single one. But if you look, oh my god, that looks really good. You see that color? I don't know if you can.
Yes.
My makeup thing. But yeah, you want to get that char, and that's sugars. That's that brown sugar in there. Charring it up. It's really good. I'm sorry you guys have to watch me be impressed with myself. But every now and again, I'm like, I did it.
It smells just like beef bulgogi.
Yeah. Turns out.
Smells very good.
Yeah. I didn't trim the fat off of the ribeye either. You could if you wanted to. I like that on my steak, so I eat it.
I think most Korean restaurants leave it on too.
And I want to say they're also probably not using ribeye. They're probably using just a cheaper cut of meat. Because I have run a restaurant, and you don't use your fanciest cut of meat for something you're going to marinate.
Right.
It's like your fajita meat is not ribeye. It's going to be a cheaper cut that you can marinate and tenderize. If y'all want to know any other secrets about restaurant life, let me know. So yeah, turn it up.
So how long do you do this on each side? I didn't miss that.
A few minutes. I can't be.
I know. I always want time.
She always wants me to be very specific about recipes.
I'm such a baker, though. I like to know my rules.
She likes rules. It's like the to taste on a recipe. You
yes.
do that. A couple of minutes. Let the meat decide when it's done, basically.
And that
let the
is
meat
what?
decide. I'm gonna say 2 minutes. You can also pull one off and test it.
But I guess if it's a little rare, it's okay. Or do you want it pretty cooked?
You can do it a little rare. It'll be fine. But this is already after 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it's already done. She's done. What? I'm gonna do another batch. So you just do this in batches. Is anyone planning on cooking this and doing the leaf lettuce instead of doing it with rice?
Oh, like a lettuce wrap?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's another thing too. Is I'm gonna just put that all in there so it doesn't burn. The way it's served to us at this restaurant we go to, it's always served over rice, but you can serve rice on the side and then build little lettuce wraps. Totally up to you. Do one, or do last one, and then we'll do the mushrooms. You can also throw in scallions if you wanted. I'm gonna just serve them on top. You could do sliced onions if you wanted. Everyone's got their own different recipe. You can do chicken as well. Chicken would be really, really good.
With that same marinade?
With that same marinade, yep. Chicken bulgogi. Pork bulgogi is really popular as well. You can do anything. The world is your oyster. What you want. Cool.
We can talk more about soju.
Yeah.
Do you know people who missed our soju combo?
I was gonna say if you missed. Someone asked about, is there a Korean cocktail you can make? And Korean, Japanese have sake, Koreans have soju. We learned, because we had to Google it, so I was I know there's a difference. I don't remember what the difference is. They're both made with rice. Sake is fermented like beer, and soju is distilled like vodka. So liquor versus beer.
Also, soju is sweeter than sake.
Which probably makes it a little more palatable than sake. Can't do it. Want to be able to do it. Yeah, I'm gonna turn this heat up.
I can go to town on a sake flight.
Yeah. Yeah. Any questions, comments, concerns? Let's test this out.
We'll just watch it and love it.
Yeah. These are my favorite things to do because I get an excuse to make food because I don't cook at home. Y'all, I don't cook at home. I wish that I did. I'm sure
Your husband does.
he does. He's a chef as well, so he does a lot of the cooking. And this is like it's fun for me. I know that sounds really weird because I cook all the time, but it's nice to be able to do something different finally. But yeah.
And then what'd you just do?
Oh, I just replaced the can of gas.
Butane.
The butane. Yeah, that's a butane burner. But it was starting to get really low, and I was like, I'm not getting enough heat on this. This needs to be like medium-high heat. So medium high. Do you want to try it?
Yes.
I give her a little taste.
Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah. But
Yes.
it falls apart. So the reason you're slicing it really thin is like you can just pull.
You guys.
Pull. Okay, that one's not going to pull for me, but you get it.
So good. Oh, it's burning me, but I don't even care.
You're like, I don't care. Yeah. I'm excited about those mushrooms too. Those are going to be good.
Has anybody ever been to Korea?
Yeah, anyone been to Korea?
Post it in the chat.
Yeah. I also if we're going to have a combo about Korea, I just learned about, I don't know their name, but they're called like mermaids. And they're these older women, they're like 80 years old, 70 years old, and they free dive in the ocean. Not just like, oh, they're by the beach and you can kind of see them. They're like out in the middle of nowhere, which is my nightmare. And they just free dive to the bottom of the ocean and they like get oysters and clams and octopus and like
How old are they?
they're like 70, 60, 80, like they're old women, which good for you, sis, but like, you're in the middle of the ocean? Like, oh.
So they sell it as like a trade? Like they do?
They just take it back to shore, someone else sells it. Like they're just catching the things. But it's like, yeah, there's a name for it. There's like a thing for it. I don't
Call
know.
them mermaids?
It basically translates to mermaids, I think.
But that's so cute because like they're getting pearls and oysters, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's also, like I feel like sometimes we throw away older folks in our communities. Like, oh, go retire, something to do and something to be proud of,
Yeah.
not to be, make it deep, but it's pretty cool.
Someone has been to Singapore, but not Korea yet.
Did you eat all the food in Singapore? Was it incredible?
Sure.
I hear they have like
The street food
is
is
incredible.
all the way.
And like people just have been doing, I go back and forth as to whether or not I would love to do this. But the idea of spend your whole life making one dish, but you perfect it. You make it the best dish, whatever that dish is. Part of me is like, that's so cool. And then the other part of me is like, would that make me crazy not being able to do other things? And like, would you just be like, oh, cool, making this again? Or would you, I don't know.
I think it definitely takes a certain person.
A little bit of both, right? A little column A, a little column B.
Trey said, the food was amazing, so much seafood though.
Too much seafood.
It must have been too much seafood.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. Beef is really expensive in Korea. So it's actually, like, it's easy for us to make it here, but it's something to consider is that it's not as easy to get beef over there. We don't have a land to grow it. We have to import it. But seafood is abundant. So, yeah, it's like seafood's really expensive here because we are landlocked and we don't have. Interesting. All right, I just love like food histories and like why we eat what we eat. It's very interesting to me. I made rice earlier. I'm gonna serve it with bulgogi.
What kind of rice is that?
Straight up white rice, like long grain white rice. You got jasmine, cool. Sushi rice, cool. Do whatever kind of rice you want. You have leftover basmati from the last cooking thing. Don't forget to soak it, and then use it. Yeah. See, like, is this not the easiest thing?
It's so easy. I cannot believe how easy this is.
I expected to, like, at least feel a little bit pressured for time, and I'm just like, that's it. We're done. We did it. And the best part about this is that you don't have to worry about it being undercooked or overcooked. Like, there's no, I think a lot of times when you're a first-time cook or kind of a novice at it, so to speak, it's really intimidating making sure that you don't overcook or undercook things. It's so thinly sliced that it's not gonna be chewy. It's still gonna fall apart. I'm gonna use the same pan. Obviously clean it out if you are vegetarian. I would eat more than you.
I'm gonna show them.
Okay. So just take this.
So this is the mushroom.
This is a mushroom one, yeah.
If you're vegetarian,
With the veggies, yeah.
beef, bulgogi.
Look at that beef. And then you're gonna garnish with green onion. You could do a little sesame oil if you have it. I'm not gonna have to do all of these. You guys forgetting something. All the other mushrooms like that. I did like 3 in here. Like, why does this look so small?
More mushroom.
Get it together, woman. And toss. What I love about mushrooms too is what they'll do when you're cooking them is they will expel all of their water, and then they'll expel all the water, and then they'll soak it back up again. So it's really cool to have a sauce for, like, I'll cook them, and then once they expel, I'll add butter, and then they soak up the butter flavor. It's gonna be awesome.
Someone's asking about the dipping sauce again. Did you add sesame seeds with vinegar and soy?
I did. Yeah. That was like a style choice too.
It's a little something on top.
It just looks cuter in the bowl, you know? Also, I was like, I need to remember which is my vinegar soy and which one is my water soy. So I was like, I'm gonna just finish this. That's a mental note to me.
Yes.
Same thing, let it caramelize, then give it a flip or a toss, whichever you want to do. Put a little green onion in there.
It smells just as good as the beef.
Yeah, it smells, you wouldn't, honestly, because you're using that same marinade, you're not missing it. You know what I mean? It's not like the flavor is still there. And I think that's honestly the most important part when you're doing any sort of substitute cooking. You could also do tofu if you wanted. Once again, marinate it. Marinate it a little longer, depending on how big the pieces are. When I'm doing stuff with tofu, I always let it drain really well, and then I'll kind of press it out with some paper towels just to get all that water, as much water out, so that it does have room to absorb whatever flavor I want it to have. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy though. Tofu is definitely something that I have not ventured into as a meat eater.
I realize I'm like hedging my words. It's interesting because it can be wrong, like in my opinion.
I don't get wrong.
You can, it's not wrong, like you're not gonna like get food poisoning from it or anything like that. It's not like dangerous, but I don't like when tofu is like mushy. So I always crisp it in a nonstick with whatever seasoning so that it has texture. And I like to use the hard tofu for that texture. I only use soft if I need it for, if I'm making like a vegan ricotta or something, then I will use soft. Otherwise, the soft is just, it falls apart. it's not as satisfying. I find that when you're doing sort of any substitute cooking, is what I like to call it, you want to do something that gives that feel of like, hey, I am eating, it's like the same thing.
Something
But
with
it's not.
substance.
Yeah. Okay,
Someone's saying you could put beef and mushrooms together.
I'm about to do that. I was like, I don't have anywhere to put this. I'm probably just going to stick it over here. I'll do both. What would be really good with this too is just thinly slice any kind of onion that you have. Just add it in there. No wrong answers. You got the marinade. That's pretty much, if you have a marinade, you can put whatever you want in there and it's going to be incredible.
Somebody said, yeah, tofu is very dependent on how it is prepared to how good it is.
Exactly. Because I've done it before. Back when I was a vegetarian for a couple of years and I would, play around with recipes and there was just nothing worse than getting soggy tofu. It's just like, there's no flavor to it, right? That's the point. That's why tofu goes well with everything. There's no flavor, so you have to make it taste like something, but you also have to make it texturally feel like something. Otherwise, it's just very unpleasant all around. Not to burn the tofu industry right now, but it's our job as cooks to give it something. Give it what it needs, basically. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 13 minutes left.
13 whole minutes.
If anybody are you all finished?
This is it. Yeah, we've done it. We've done the things. I'm probably, we're going to take some pictures. We're going to plate it all up and take some pictures. But yeah, you've done it. This is it.
If anybody has questions about what we did, or if Meredith wants to pop on and say anything, I think we are all through Korean dinner.
I did it with much less time.
Y'all did great. Thank you so much. And we'll give everybody back some time, and this will be posted on our culture shared site. So I will put that in Teams for anybody that's watching.
Yeah, and reach out if you guys have questions you can email us if you want or whatever.
Yeah, retailercateringco.com.
retailercateringco.com. Let me know what you think of it when you try it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to stop recording.